Hey, what's going on, guys? Sean from PlanningFire.com here, back with the third part in the Millionaire Next Door series. If you have any interest in reading along with me, I threw a link down in the description box. That way, you can read the same book I'm reading, and you can also pass the judgments that you want to pass. Alright, so the first part of this session was the No Rolls Royce Please chapter. Basically, what the author details is that purchasing one luxury item tends to lead to purchasing other luxury items. And the example used was the parents will buy the kids a nice house, something that's out of their income range, in a nice neighborhood, and that leads to a lot of other factors. That house is obviously going to have much higher property taxes. More wealthy neighborhoods and more expensive houses will have higher property taxes. Property taxes, of course, being charged per $1,000 your house is valued at. So if you're in a nice neighborhood and you own a house that's out of your reach, your property taxes are also probably going to be out of your reach. You also have more pressure to decorate with nicer things. So for example, if you ever drive through a pre-built manufactured community with a lot of very expensive houses, you'll notice that they all have meticulously well-kept landscaping. They tend to have nicer cars, nicer things outside, patio sets, what have you. Their windows are decorated, the interior is decorated pristinely, and it really all comes down to dollars and cents. There tends to be a pressure from being around this sort of environment that leads to you also doing the same things. Also, as you start to integrate with the community and you have these conversations, they may find out that, hey, all of the other kids are going to a private school. The last thing I want to do is ostracize my children and send them to a public school, even though all their friends are going to a private school. So then all of a sudden you have this social pressure to send your kid to a private school as well. Even if the public schools in your area are fantastic, you still will have to foot that bill, or could potentially want to foot that bill depending on your stance on the situation. The next chapter was buying cars millionaire style. So essentially, and this comes back later on, but 81% of millionaires in America will purchase their vehicles outright, whether that's new or used. The other 23.5% will lease those. And those leases tend to be among the people who are second generation millionaires. First generation millionaires tend to buy used. But we'll come up to that in a little bit later in this discussion. But only 23.5% lease. 25% go 7.5 years between purchases, with a large proportion of those second generation millionaires going less than 3. This was interesting. The average cost of a millionaire's vehicle is only $25,000, which represents 2% of their overall net worth, which is a very small fraction to be paying for a vehicle. Of those who purchase vehicles outright, 37% buy used. So it's a large number of people who are buying used vehicles even though they're millionaires. Now, this was just an anecdotal quip, but I thought it was really interesting. If you, the average American, spent only 2% of your net worth on a vehicle, you could only spend $580. That would be a very unreliable used car, at best, assuming it has tires. So I thought that was interesting. It just kind of puts in perspective the amount that these people are spending as their net worth. There were much more detailed numbers in this section for the purchasing behaviors. However, I found that it kind of went on a bit, and I really just boiled it down to the things I found most interesting. 45% of the millionaires who are buying vehicles are dealer loyalists, meaning if they're going to make a purchase, odds are they're going to go directly back to the dealer they've been dealing with in the past. These loyalists, 63% are buying used, and 36% are buying new, based on the sample size selected. Now, they may also leverage their customers as their dealers. This kind of factors back into a feedback loop. So if you're referring your friends and business partners to a dealer, you may go directly to that dealer because he's not going to mess around. He may go, this guy's a great customer. He offers and volunteers up a lot of customers for me, so I'm not going to jerk him around. I'm just going to give him the best price right out the gate. This leads to a pretty serious upfront savings and may also represent why some of these people do choose to be dealer loyalists. They also will email and fax these dealerships they're interested in ahead of time to get quotes, because getting quotes saves time. And these dealer loyalists tend to be the type of people who know time is money. The less time spent searching and hunting for a deal, the more money they save. And if you consider the hourly rate of some of these folks, the amount of money they save could be negligible compared to the amount of time they're spending. The next chapter was called What Buying Habits Reveal, and it had an interesting quote right at the start. Seeds are like dollars. You can eat them, or you can water them and they can grow, which is really interesting. It's basically saying you can recognize your revenue and spend it, and then the dollars are gone, or you can invest those dollars, and those dollars will then make more dollars. I actually have a follower on Twitter who made an interesting statement. He said when they was talking to his daughter about interest, she goes, so money is like babies, and those babies make babies? And I thought that was really interesting. It is exactly how that works, but it was a really interesting way to put it. Also, if you can't increase your income, you have to decrease elsewhere to start saving. They call this playing defensively, and I think it's a really smart idea. That comes down to taking a look at your budget, cutting non-essentials, and really making the most out of every dollar you recognize. So that's it for part 3. Appreciate you joining me. I will say that the book definitely ends up being a bit repetitive. I know I said that in the last video as well, but it really comes down to the fact that these concepts are very basic. They're just difficult to follow. It's really about spending less and saving more. So a lot of these numbers support the ideas the author has throughout the book. It's still fairly well written, and it's also well researched. And personally, I'm enjoying it so far. I highly recommend you check it out with me. But otherwise, until next time, I hope everyone has a great day. Thank you.